first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. And very rightly said, it's a very, very different kind of a topic. I am with Punjab National Bank for more than 2 decades now, and I had physical security. So this particular topic is there and everybody is aware about it. And it's a very, very relevant topic for everybody, anybody who's working in any kind of a corporate or the government. But it has really come to the forefront right after our dear President Trump has started his antics. So now it's on the forefront, everybody's feeling the pinch of it. So I'm not a naturally expert of this, but I've done some research, so I'll be sharing my views with you. Now the idea that the world is a new Cold War arises from series of escalating geopolitical events that reflect intensifying rivalry among major powers, China and United States. The military spendings are at the highest since the Cold War, and they have increased with the onset of Russia and Ukraine war. Tensions have mounted over trade disputes, military buildups in the South China Sea, and competition of technological dominance. But notwithstanding that, US and China are the biggest trade partners. So that's the difference between the earlier Cold War and this new Cold War. Earlier Cold War was about ideology. It was communism versus capitalism, and they didn't do trade. Now they are the biggest trade partners, but the war is about technical dominance today. Today, the globe is shifting from unipolar to multipolar axis of disorder. After relatively 3 decades of stable scenario since the Cold War, the global landscape has shifted. Now China, Russia, North Korea, Iran are also contesting the status quo. The current global landscape is shaped by technological dominance, economic interdependence, and influence competition across emerging regions like Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. While China's rise is clear, regional powers like India, Brazil, Turkey, UAE, South Africa, and Indonesia are seeking to shape the regional and global dynamics. Economic interdependence, once seen as a stabilizing force, is increasingly being weaponized, as is seen in trade wars, sanctions, and deliberate decoupling of supply chain in critical industries. It's the culmination of fast-moving geographical local events which are further triggering slow-moving global stressors. Like climate change, power competition, and inflation. A pointer to that would be, Houthi rebels are stopping Red Sea transportation. Whereas in English Channel, because of the climate, we are having problems in transportation. Currently, the line between global and local issues has been very, very blurred. As the world becomes more unstable, conflicts generally contained in one country are no longer isolated, creating risks for multinational organizations that the businesses are realizing now. In the new Cold War, geopolitics is becoming a corporate risk map through fragmentation of the global economy. Trade and finance are the new weapons now. Polycrisis, whether it is Ukraine, Russia, attack by Hamas on Israel, or even the violent regime changes in our neighbors, that is Nepal and Bangladesh. Any kind of business model is unstable. Rather than a simple bipolar rivalry, today geopolitical landscape is marked by competing powers and interconnected risks that threaten the business continuity and investments. They have the potential to impact the global economic outlook, influencing growth, inflation, financial markets, and the supply chains. Further, the growth of nationalism, protectionism, and populist movements in the recent years has created an environment of increasing uncertainty and could potentially lead to deglobalization, a reversal of globalization. or slowdown of globalization. Now the governments are keen to diversify their imports as a protective measure and reduce their dependence on a single trading partner. On the same lines, or similarly, they are seeking to diversify their export partners also. I'm moving away from the traditional partners and routes and starting exploring new horizons, which were till now not even on the table. We are arguably in the most economic disruptive period in decades. Collaboration is the key to navigating this disruption. With geopolitics playing an increasingly important role in global business, it is critical, now more than ever, for companies and businesses to have a geopolitical risk analysis firmly embedded into their strategy and governance. Now the point is, what do we do about it? Business leaders today view geopolitical tensions as the biggest risk to economic growth. Given their fiduciary responsibilities, they tend to focus primarily onto the downsides of the same and ask such questions: which of my products operations are geopolitically sensitive? At what point do I need to switch the suppliers? How much of my workforce needs visas? And how is it going to affect my productivity? It's important to craft risk and response plans to address those and other potential downsides. But even as they improve their resilience to shocks, business leaders should also focus on opportunities to risk-adjusted value creation. They must go beyond mitigating geographical risks to seizing the opportunity presented by the new world order. They should be seeking questions to themselves, as what will our competitors' product be less expensive because of the new tariffs or the taxes? What new alliances can create opportunities for them to grow or change their cost structure? Businesses need to invest in appointing geopolitical officers and set up a geopolitical intelligence units. These are the units that will provide early warnings to the CEOs of emerging events, develop strategies and response plans to empower the CEOs in time of crisis and protect their supply chains from external shocks. Now the need of the hour is to find opportunities in 3 areas in particular: accelerated growth, of course, optimizing business operations, and developing capabilities and strategies to address global disruption. Now, there's a need to find opportunities for commercial acceleration amid shifting global tensions and assess what growth is to them, their customers, and competitors, and take decisions for acceleration or, on the other hand, rebalancing of the portfolios. Commercial acceleration in changing global conditions can be achieved by attracting new customers or increasing your market share. Opportunities may emerge where competitors are hit by tariffs which are disproportionate and increases the cost of their products. Or there may be opportunities with new trade agreements which were earlier not available. On the other hand, portfolio rebalancing. Due to geopolitical shocks, some of the segments which were very stable earlier may falter, and previously overlooked segments might represent new potentials. In optimizing of core business operations, leaders can boost operational resilience when they assess the degree to which geopolitical shifts can affect the cost effectiveness of their operations, including their relationship with suppliers, their global talent strategists, capabilities, and technological infrastructure. Now, the capabilities required for the geopolitical disruption, it's very important. It's one thing to know about the potential upsides or downsides of geopolitics, and it's entirely another to have the capability required to respond to them. Companies regularly monitor their regulatory taxes, local policies that affect their businesses. Now, they must monitor geopolitical risks also and economic policies in the countries which they are operating. We need to recognize the fact the actions in one country may beget reactions from other countries also. Organizations must have the foresight as well as the capabilities. But most of all, they must have the fortitude to seize opportunities amid volatility, complexity, and uncertainty. The effort is going to be worth it. The executives who think deeply and act on shifting world order today will be definitely market leaders tomorrow. Now, I'll shift our focus directly towards India. Geopolitical shifts are forcing Indian companies to navigate complex trade restrictions, supply chain disruptions, and financial volatility, while also presenting strategic opportunities. India's strategy of multiple alignment allows us to engage with competing power blocks on both sides. The key impact over Indian companies, the first is supply chain restructuring. Due to geopolitical tensions and trade restrictions involving China, many companies are diversifying their manufacturing and sourcing bases. Now, India is the #1 contender in that. Companies like Dell, HP, Foxconn, Lenovo have been investing a lot in India, and we are expected to generate large employment and boost production. Disruptions in the Middle East have disrupted key trading routes, shipping routes, causing increased cost and time, pushing Indian companies to explore alternate routes and shift towards multiple modes of transportation. To address their supply chain vulnerabilities, now companies are building resilience through buffer stocking and localizing of sourcing. Companies like Tata, Vedanta, Dixon, to name a few, are already doing that. In trade and investment dynamics, diversification of trade partnerships to reduce dependence on volatile markets. The Indian government is actively pursuing free trade agreements with regions like European Union and the UK. This helps corporations expand their business and bases and mitigate risks from restrictions in any single region. India's neutral geopolitical stance, combined with strong domestic economic fundamentals, makes it an attractive destination for foreign direct investments. Foreign investments in manufacturing have been rising, benefiting sectors from electronics to defense. In financial volatility, geopolitical events have triggered foreign capital outflows, causing the rupee to depreciate. This has increased the cost of imports of oils, leading to fuel inflation. India is facing new tariffs from the US tied to Russian oil imports and other trade restrictions with the EU, prompting domestic economic measures that reducing of GST to offset the impact. With the wars like Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza driving instability and polarizing alliances, the shift in US policy under President Trump, including the high tariffs and protectionist outlook, has further fragmented the global trade and supply chains. India has been largely impacted by this. It has made the investors risk averse. There's a temporary decline in the foreign portfolio investments in the emerging markets like India. Long-term FDIs, however, have proven to be more resilient. Now, if we talk about sector-specific, energy. Due to our dependence on energy imports and vulnerability to geopolitical conflicts, India is accelerating shift towards renewable energy through initiatives like National Green Hydrogen Mission. In defense, our emergence as a defense manufacturing hub is being boosted by increased domestic production and partnership with countries like UK and France. The increased demand for defense-related products is benefiting companies like HAL, BEL, BML, to name a few. Already Indian IT and pharma sector have significant global presence, and they often benefit from the depreciating rupee as their export services become cheaper. India has been doing a balancing act by leveraging multi-alignment to maintain autonomy, but faces pressure to choose sides in the US-China polarization deepens. India continues to purchase Russian defense equipment, but risks coming under US sanctions. India is also seeking to deepen partnerships with Indo-Pacific and European unions. Our participation in multilateral forums like BRICS, SCO, Quad is now more crucial, and its ability to balance competing demands shapes our global influence. The domestic production to boost the domestic production under the initiative Atmanirbhar Bharat, as India hedges against supply shocks, strengthens our self-reliance, particularly in critical and emerging technologies. India's approach to new Cold War is shaped by the need to guard its frontiers, sovereignty, and bolster national security, while seizing opportunities also. This is the time when India needs to collaborate and innovate with the right partners to succeed. To finally sum up, geopolitical disruptions are becoming more frequent and complex. Indian corporates must transition from reactive to proactive risk management, focusing on resilience, diversification, and strategic alignment. Those who adopt early will gain the competitive advantage and will be able to protect our long-term values. Thank you so much.